Buck, I think that's over. I think that's done, but
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished.
That line from 50 Cent hit different because right after that, Young Buck's whole world started crashing down. Bankruptcy, heavy IRS debts, and even a stint behind bars for probation violations. It was like watching a slow-motion downfall of a dude who once had it all. The truth behind it, way darker than fans ever imagined. From the trenches to the spotlight, Buck's story is straight out of a movie. Growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, young David Brown didn't have it easy.
What did happen was Buck and Lil Jimmy ended up meeting everybody at Cash Money Records. And the first thing that Birdman told Buck was to spit a freestyle for him, and he put him up against Lil Wayne at that time, and they went back and forth. And that ended up impressing Birdman.
Not even close. He was bouncing from block to block, from C-Fright in North Nashville to J.C. Napier projects down south, and then over to the South 7 projects. By the time he was just 8 years old, he already knew the whole city, east to west, like the back of his hand. He saw everything the streets had to offer, and all that real-life chaos would later bleed into his music with raw emotion. Trying to stack some cash and keep things steady at home, Buck was hustling in every clean way he could, pumping gas for a few bucks, mowing lawns, washing cars, whatever it took to help out. But deep down, his real passion was the music. That was his escape from all the madness. He'd be out there freestyling with his day ones, going bar for bar with anybody bold enough to step up. Bit by bit, that local buzz started building, and Nashville's underground hip-hop scene began to whisper one name louder and louder: Young Buck.
Ended up coming on with them and hopefully having his situation figured out as well. But as years went on, Buck said he spent 3 to 4 years with Cash Money and none of his music ever got released. He got essentially put on the back burner while the other artists on Cash Money like Lil Wayne, Juvenile, BG, so on and so forth, ended up blowing up.
Now this is where things start getting wild. Buck's early hustle really starts to show, and you can see just how hungry he was for that bag. Buck and his homies stumbled on a BG Chopper City CD, and on the back cover, they spotted something crazy: a phone number for Cash Money Records. These two young dudes barely knew what they were doing, but they still decided to make that call with the boldest idea ever. They straight up told Cash Money they wanted to book them for a show in Nashville for around $5,000. And somehow, someway, these fearless teens actually pulled it off. The deal went through. The show itself never happened. But what came next flipped Buck's whole world upside down. Birdman was so impressed by their grind and guts that he immediately flew Buck out to New Orleans to talk about possibly signing with Cash Money Records. At just 14 years old, Buck made one of the biggest moves of his entire life. He dropped out of school to chase his rap dreams full time. Say what you want, but that decision showed just how locked in and fearless he was. This wasn't no side hobby or something he did for fun. This was his escape route, his whole way out the hood. Music was his shot at freedom, and he wasn't about to waste it.
And out of my ordeal back in the streets, I ended up getting shot in a home invasion and a robbery. One in the arm and one in the upper thigh area. It was enough for me to wake up and really realize that, yo, if this shit keep going on like this, I'm either to get killed or I'm gonna go to jail. And I really realized that because I was getting down for real. Really started to devote more of my time to the music then, the studio, period.
The only real proof Buck ever had from his Cash Money chapter is a quick cameo in the Big Timers Big Ballin' music video. But by 1999, he'd had enough of sitting on the sidelines while everyone else around him was shining. He was tired of waiting, tired of promises that never came true. So he made the tough call. He left Cash Money behind, packed his bags, and headed back to Nashville, ready to build his name his own way. But those early years weren't a total loss. Not at all. Buck soaked up some real game about how the music business works and built connections that would later be priceless. He linked with big names like DJ Paul from 3-6 Mafia and Juvenile, forming relationships that would come back around when it mattered most.
Juvie happened to pull up at the office, and when he pulled up, he was kind of shocked to see me there. I'm like, I've been here for a whole week. And he was like, man, you want to get up out of here for a minute? You know what I'm saying? And I took that ride with Juvie. And that's where my career started, with Juvenile.
Back in Nashville, Buck reconnected with his crew and started pushing on his own terms. No label, no handouts, just pure hustle. On August 22nd, 2000, he and his homie D-Tay dropped Thug Until the End, and that move shocked everybody. This wasn't some mixtape lost in the streets. This independent project actually charted. It hit number 34 on the US R&B chart and number 17 on the independent chart. For a rapper from Nashville with no major backing, that was massive. Buck moved around 10,000 units all on his own, grinding out the trunk and moving CDs by hand.
A week after the deal fizzled out with UTP, 50 Cent ended up calling Young Buck and said, hey, we want that Bloodhound track. We'll pay you $20,000 for it. Let us put it on the album. And the track is getting mixed by Eminem and Dr. Dre.
It might not sound like superstar numbers, but for a street artist doing everything himself, that was a huge win. More than the money, it proved one major thing. People were really listening. His music connected, and there was a real crowd ready to ride with him. Then came the real wake-up call, the moment that forced him to face everything head-on. During a home invasion, Buck got hit and nearly lost it all. When he pulled through, he made himself a solid promise. No more street drama, no more risky moves. From that point forward, it was all about the music. He was done juggling both worlds. It was time to go all in on his dream. And just when Buck needed a break the most, fate came knocking. And it came through an old Cash Money connection. DJ Paul from 3-6 Mafia, who had always respected Buck's raw talent and sharp pen game, heard about the shooting and decided to reach out. He didn't just send a message. He sent Project Pat to scoop Buck up from Nashville and bring him straight to Memphis to hit the studio and cook up something serious. Those studio sessions turned out to be a major turning point. Out of them came Buck's first big album placement, the track Memphis on 3-6 Mafia's legendary album, When the Smoke Clears 66-61. That moment was a game changer. It gave Buck the exposure he'd been grinding for all those years, the kind of spotlight that could finally open bigger doors. But even with that massive look, Buck didn't officially sign with 3-6 Mafia. Instead, he took what he learned and went right back to Nashville, still moving independently, but this time with way more visibility and heavy industry connects behind him. But hold up. Before we skip too far ahead, let's rewind a bit and break down how Buck ended up joining G-Unit, because that story is wild. After his Memphis run, guess who came calling again? Birdman. Yeah, his old Cash Money plug. He reached out with a brand new proposition, and by then, the whole Cash Money empire had leveled up big time. We're talking luxury rides, bigger offices, platinum plaques, the works. Birdman told Buck he was building a brand new group called Head Bussers and wanted him to be part of it. So Buck hopped a flight back to New Orleans ready to see what was up. But what happened next felt all too familiar. History was starting to repeat itself, and not in a good way. No cap, after about a week of just sitting around, waiting for something to actually move with that so-called New Deal, Buck started losing his patience. There was no real paperwork, no progress, just empty promises floating in the air. But this wasn't the same 14-year-old kid who once dreamed of making it big. This was a grown man now with bills to pay and real life waiting back home. He didn't have time to be sitting around hoping somebody would make things happen for him. Then out of nowhere, something wild happened. Juvenile walked into the Cash Money offices and was straight up shocked to see Buck just chilling there, waiting. At that time, Juvenile was going through his own storm, dealing with serious beef and tension inside Cash Money. But instead of keeping his distance, he threw Buck a lifeline. He offered him a spot with his own label, UTP Records. That single moment flipped Buck's entire story again. But here's where Buck's street smarts really showed. Even though Juvenile handed him a contract right there, Buck didn't rush to sign it. Instead, he took that paper home, slid it under his bed, and never actually put his name on it. That move was slick and smart. Real talk, that was pure instinct from a man who had learned the hard way not to trust everything on paper. During that time, Buck still dropped 2 solid projects. Born to be a Thug on October 10th, 2002, and a compilation album with the UTP Playas just 2 days earlier on October 8th, 2002, but technically, he was never officially signed. Why? Because Buck was watching closely. He'd seen what went down with Cash Money, and he noticed Juvenile starting to have those same issues, that same instability. He knew better than to jump into another messy situation, so he played it cool, moved smart, and kept his options wide open. At one point, Juvenile himself told Buck straight up, if a better opportunity comes your way, take it. That advice ended up changing everything. While on tour with Juvenile, their bus made a stop in New York City. And this was back in 2002 when 50 Cent had the hottest buzz in the entire game. The city couldn't stop talking about him. The mixtapes were fire, the streets were loud, and every corner knew his name. Now here's where luck met hustle. The tour bus driver just happened to know 50's former manager, Shaw Money XL. Buck, always thinking ahead, kept pressing the driver to make something happen, to try and get 50 Cent on that bus so they could maybe cook up a record together. And guess what? It actually happened. 50 pulled up and stepped on the tour bus, but he was there to link with Juvenile, not Buck. While Juvenile and 50 were locked in the back working on some heat, Buck made a bold move. He didn't sit around waiting. He started playing his own solo tracks up front for Lloyd Banks and Tony Yayo, who were also chilling on the bus. One particular joint stood out. The moment Lloyd Banks heard it, he was locked in. He took that beat straight to the back where 50 was recording and played it for him. 50 liked it so much he decided to jump on it right then and there. That track turned into Bloodhound, one of the standout songs on the legendary Get Rich or Die Tryin' album. And while that song became iconic later, it wasn't actually the first time all four of them, 50, Buck, Banks, and Yayo, shared a track together. That honor goes to A Little Bit of Everything off the 50 Cent Is the Future mixtape, where the chemistry first sparked and the future G-Unit energy started to form. Bloodhound was the track that officially introduced Young Buck to the mainstream world, the moment his name started buzzing far beyond the streets. 50 Cent was really feeling Buck's energy and raw talent, but at that time 50 couldn't offer him a deal just yet. He wasn't even signed to a major label himself. Still, he never forgot Buck or the impression he made that day. And just like Buck predicted, things with UTP eventually fell apart. But right when it seemed like another chapter was closing, fate stepped in again. This time, 50 Cent hit Buck with the biggest opportunity of his life. He wanted to fly him out to Los Angeles to meet Eminem and Dr. Dre and officially sign with G-Unit. Can you imagine that moment? For a rapper who had already been through countless setbacks, shady deals, and near misses, this was a literal dream come true. Buck's first big placement on G-Unit Records was, of course, Bloodhound off 50's legendary Get Rich or Die Tryin' album. But 50 had a bigger plan. He wanted to build Buck's brand the smart way. Instead of rushing out a solo album right away, 50 dropped a group project first. The iconic G-Unit album, Beg for Mercy. That move introduced Buck to the world as an official member of the squad, and the impact was massive. Beg for Mercy debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, selling 377,000 copies in its first week. Over time, it went on to move 2.7 million copies in the US alone and nearly hit diamond status worldwide. Just like that, Young Buck had arrived, front and center, on one of the biggest stages hip-hop had ever seen. The hood was proud, the fans were hype, and Buck was finally where he belonged. Keeping that same G-Unit blueprint alive, Buck dropped his own mixtape, Welcome to the Hood, on May 31st, 2004, hosted by DJ Who Kid. It was the perfect setup to get everyone talking before his highly anticipated solo debut, which was locked in for July 2nd, 2004. The buzz was real. Buck was on fire, and the streets could feel it. Buck came out swinging with his first single, Let Me In, featuring 50 Cent. The track hit hard and climbed up to number 34 on the Billboard Hot 100, officially marking his arrival as more than just a G-Unit member. He was a star in his own right, but the real fireworks came a few months later. On August 24th, 2004, Buck dropped his debut album, Straight Outta Cashville, and the results were unbelievable. No cap, it debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, selling 361,000 copies in just its first week. The album went platinum, solidifying Buck as one of the hottest names in hip-hop. Then came the second single, Shorty Wanna Ride, which turned out to be Buck's biggest solo hit ever. It shot up to number 17 on the Billboard Hot 100, proving he could carry records all by himself. But this moment wasn't just about record sales or chart positions, it was bigger than that. Buck had officially broken what people in Nashville called the Nashville curse. That long-standing idea that non-country artists could never blow up from that city. For decades, Nashville was seen as strictly country territory, but Buck shattered that wall completely. He opened the doors wide for a whole new wave of artists to dream bigger. But just when everything seemed perfect, chaos struck. And it went down on November 15, 2004 at the Vibe Awards. It was a night packed with heavy hitters. Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, Suge Knight, and the whole G-Unit squad were in the building. Things took a wild turn when a man named Jimmy Johnson allegedly put his hands on Dr. Dre, and that's when all hell broke loose. Reports later claimed that Young Buck allegedly stabbed Jimmy Johnson during the madness. After the incident, Buck went on the run for a couple of days before turning himself in. The case dragged out for about a year and a half before finally being settled. In the end, Buck was hit with 3 years of probation and ordered to complete 80 hours of community service. It was a major scandal, the kind that could have ended a career. But for Buck, it was just another storm he had to survive. For a short moment, it looked like maybe, just maybe, things between Young Buck and 50 Cent were finally smoothing out. There was a little hope in the air, like the old chemistry might come back. But that peace didn't last long at all. It got shattered fast. On March 20th, 2008, an interview dropped with Yo Raps magazine, and it sent shockwaves through the whole hip-hop scene. In that interview, Buck didn't hold back. He said straight up, "I'm still waiting on a royalty check, period. I've never seen a royalty check since I've signed with G-Unit. So hell yeah, I'll tell you one damn thing. That show money is that good. I've never in my career cashed a royalty check." Those words hit like a bomb. But here's the crazy part. That interview was actually old, recorded months earlier. The outlet decided to release it in March, right when Buck and 50 were supposedly patching things up. The timing couldn't have been worse. It looked like straight sabotage. Shaw Money XL, who was part of the G-Unit management team, immediately tried to clean up the mess the next day. He denied everything, claiming Buck had already made over $10 million under 50's guidance, but the damage was already done. Then on April 7th, 2008, a Monday morning, 50 Cent called in live to Hot 97 and dropped the bombshell himself. Young Buck was no longer part of G-Unit as a group. He clarified that Buck was still signed to G-Unit Records as a solo artist, but his time with the group was officially over. The following week, when the entire G-Unit crew rolled through Hot 97, 50 opened up even more. He went public with more details, and this time, he claimed Buck was battling a drug problem. The whole thing exploded across the internet. Fans were confused, shocked, and torn between sides. Buck went quiet for a couple of weeks, probably just trying to wrap his head around everything that had gone down. But on May 12th, 2008, he fired back the best way he knew how. Through music, he dropped a track called My Interview, where he addressed being kicked out of G-Unit and clapped back at those drug allegations head on. It was raw, emotional, and brutally honest. Buck wasn't going out without speaking his truth. Buck had fans going crazy when he announced his third studio album would be executive produced by both 50 Cent and Dr. Dre. That kind of lineup had people thinking the old magic might be back. But it didn't last long. Once again, the relationship between Buck and 50 started falling apart. 50 claimed Buck owed him over $300,000, and he wasn't playing around. He hit Buck with cease and desist orders, shutting down anything Buck tried to release. Then in 2019, things got messy in a whole new way. A leaked phone call between Buck and a trans person went viral online. Instead of staying quiet, 50 jumped on social media and started mocking Buck publicly, posting disrespectful stuff and making jokes that went way too far. That moment destroyed any chance of a real G-Unit reunion, and it was clear that door was closed for good. By 2020, Buck had hit another financial wall and filed for bankruptcy again. This time, mainly to break free from his G-Unit contract and dodge 50's lawsuit. After years of legal battles, the court finally ruled in 2023, and Buck agreed to pay $200,690 of the alleged $250,000 debt. To make it happen, he had to liquidate around $1.05 million in assets, spending nearly $445,000 on legal fees alone, leaving about $600,000 for creditors. It was a brutal hit, but he pushed through. Then, in April 2025, Buck got arrested again and sentenced to 30 days in jail for repeated bond violations tied to his 2020 domestic assault case. He was released around May 12, 2025, but the legal fight wasn't over. His domestic assault trial was pushed back to January 12, 2026. Despite all the chaos, Buck seems to finally be in a better headspace. He's active on social media, showing love to his fans, celebrating milestones like the 18th anniversary of Straight Outta Cashville, and sharing positive messages. These days, he looks more focused on rebuilding his legacy instead of living in the shadow of old drama. The comeback energy is real, and if there's one thing Buck's proven time and time again, it's that he knows how to survive and keep moving forward.